Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome again to Reign Over Money. This is Kevin Hissong coming to you on another dreary January day. Today, episode 6, we are going to be talking about investment foundation. I was trying to look for a kind of a name for this one, and investing. We're going to spend so much time talking about investing, but hey, we're finally talking about investing, right? The really sexy stuff, the stuff everyone wants to know, and all my hot stock picks and everything like that, which you will never get from me. I think budgeting's exciting. I think budgeting's sexy, but we got to talk about investing because if we're going to earn more money off our money, it really all starts here. You can save more, and the reason we save more is so hopefully we can invest more and put it to work for us, and it all starts with a foundation. So what are we going to cover today? We are going to cover the different types of accounts, not all of them, just really, if you're getting started out, or what the majority of people come across when it's the type of investment accounts you're going to utilize. After that, we'll get into where to start. Maybe you've already started, but this is probably a great refresher for you and for others. But maybe there's a question mark about I've got my retirement account set up. Maybe I'm investing in an IRA, but I don't know where to start. If I want to develop a brokerage account or something like that for some a taxable account. So we'll get into where to start with that as well, and then how to keep it going. The best thing you can do with investing is to make it boring. The more boring investment is, the better. I tweeted that the other day, and it's true. If you think investing is boring, you're doing something right, at least in my mind. I'll give you a perfect example of that. I got a notification this morning that one of the stocks we own increased its dividend by 16% on its earning calls this week. So what that means for us is an extra $200 of dividend income annually from that stock that we own. Hey, we didn't do anything. I just flipped on the news and hey, there's a dividend increase, so $200 more we're going to be receiving from that. It's boring. We didn't do anything, and it's happening for us. That's what money can do for you. That's how you can make your money earn more money for you. So let's get into it. We are going to start with my story. I know you all are dying to hear about how I got started and everything. I think there's some interesting tidbits to this, and maybe it'll resonate with some of you out there. I was going to Ohio State. I won't go all the way back, but I was going to Ohio State in the late 90s, and was kind of fiddling around with school, really enjoying Ohio State for many reasons outside the education, and took a little bit of a break. I pulled back on my credit hours and decided to take a part-time job. Signed up with a temp agency and eventually got a call to go to my first job. And so I got that call, I don't know, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They said, hey, can you be there tomorrow? Do you know how to work with Excel? I said, yeah. They said, great. Okay, show up here. So that was what I was planning on doing. So I got a call about 7 o'clock that night, said, hey, last minute change. You're not going to be needed for that role. But we got another one that starts in a couple days. And if you're interested in that, show up for that one. So I said, great. It's some money here and there. I'll take it. So little did I know that little change and cancellation of that first temp job while I'm going to Ohio State in about 1996 would change my life in many ways forever. I started working at a temp agency or through the temp agency for this company that was an insurance and investment company, and they were kind of closing up the books on their Columbus office and going to move their headquarters down to Louisville, Kentucky. So I was there to help out with that. What would end up happening is, I'd get very interested in the work they were doing. I must have done a pretty good job because they asked me to move down to Louisville, Kentucky to become a full-time salaried employee with the company. And they even said they'd finish paying for my school. If I went to school, after hours or part-time or whatever, I would do that. So that was fantastic. And that started my road to my interest really in the financial world and everything that went along with that. But that's where I also met my wife. So I won't go into much detail on that other than say, 23 years later, 26 years later now, 27 years later, whatever it is, we are still happily married. And that is a story that, could have changed and never happened if not for that first cancellation of that temp job. So that's kind of the story there. But on the investment side, what you're here to learn about is maybe how did I get started with it. Once I got into working at the temp agency and working for this insurance and annuity company and investment company, I started getting more and more interested in the markets because some of the investments were tied to the markets. And I picked up a book right here. And if you're on the podcast, I'll share it. It's not probably that relevant anymore, but it's called Investing from Scratch, written by James Lowell. I think I saw the production was 1997 on it. And it was really my first reading and starting to understand the markets. Now, this is probably really out of date because it's talking about mutual funds a lot. I don't even think it mentions ETFs or exchange traded funds. So a lot has changed since 1997, but it's what's got me interested, and I've always kind of held on to it as just a reminder of where it all started from. So I just wanted to share that. But after moving down to Louisville, Kentucky, one of the cool things, and what we'll talk about here, is got the opportunity to start in a 401k. Retirement plan, a 401k plan. A lot of companies offer these. There's also some other names out there, a 403b if you're a teacher. There's 457 plans if you're with government work or whatever. And there's some other ones as well. But 401k, probably what the majority of people run across out there. Part of your paycheck goes into an investment account, grows over time, and you utilize it in retirement. So I started with that just a little bit at a time. That was great. But I also started to decide at that time, because this was 1997, 1998, things are really taking off in the markets. And all you're hearing about are the Yahoos of the world and eBays and what was it, Netscape back then, and AOL. All these different stocks are taking off and going through the roof. And I even remember at work, the Yahoo Finance ticker came out, and you could load it on your computer and it would scroll across your desktop and you could plug in different things. And I remember looking at that, and just every day it seemed like Yahoo and eBay and whatever else was going up $14, $15, $20. And I just said, I got to get into this. I got to get involved in this. So going back to budgeting and organization, I found a way to free up some income to get some money into a brokerage account. I opened up a brokerage account, I believe in 1998. At E-Trade, and I still have my majority of our investment accounts at E-Trade. I love it. It's never done anything wrong for me 25 years later, so I keep it going there. But I got started, bought my first couple stocks, actually. One was an internet phone company called ZeroPlus.com, and it was just internet phone thing, and I even bought a phone to try it out, and it was pretty rough going. But back in the day when we're connecting at 14,400 or whatever it was, it's the best you could do. But hey, the stock did pretty good for me, and that kind of got me wet the whistle a little bit on how stocks can perform and make you money and earn more money on that money. So I went with it, and that was really the basis for me starting out. I was investing in a retirement plan. I was putting some money aside in a brokerage account and investing in some stocks and mutual funds at the time. And that would eventually lead to ETFs and some other things. So that was my start and how I got going with it. Little would I know, 25 years later, I'd make my run through my career in the investment annuity and insurance world, and now have an opportunity to take all the things I've learned, not only from the work side of it, but from my interest in just the readings and following other people and trying to understand the markets and how things work more and more could lead to something like this. So very cool. So that's my story. Let's talk about the types of accounts. As I mentioned, 401k, 403b, those are kind of the accounts you're going to get, whether it's your first job or a job you're currently in. Those accounts can be one of two things. It used to be just a 401k was a tax-deferred account, which means if you took a couple $100s and invested each, or let's say you take $100 out each paycheck and you invest it, what that's going to do is a couple things. That money's going to get invested. You're not going to pay taxes on that $100. It's pre-tax money that goes into a retirement account, and that's actually going to reduce your taxable income a little bit, which as we get further down the road with intermediate and advanced discussions, that can really help you out and determine if you want to use a regular 401k or a Roth 401k. Roth accounts have become much more popular. The Roth was introduced, I think sometime around 2000 or maybe even a little earlier, but Roth 401ks are fairly new. And many of you may be at a company where you have the opportunity to invest in a traditional 401k or a Roth 401k. The difference in the Roth 401k is that $100 that comes out of your paycheck, you're still paying taxes on it. You pay taxes on the money up front, but you will never pay taxes on whatever that grows to. So think about that $100 being put away when you're 25 years old, 30 years old. You don't take that $100 out until you're 70 years old and it's grown to $10,000. You will not pay taxes on that gain from that $9,900 gain. You won't pay taxes on it in a Roth account. Now, if it's a traditional 401k, going back to the traditional 401k, it's just tax deferred. What that means is the taxes are deferred over that period, and then when you take the withdrawal, you're going to pay taxes on those gains. So in the instance I used, starting with 100, that grows to 10,000, that $9,900 is going to be taxable to you at some point in your retirement. So that's the difference in tax deferred and tax free. Roth accounts are labeled as tax-free. There's also some other tax-free investments out there, but for the time being, that's what we're focused on. And that's really your first choice, I think, when it comes to investing, is investing in your retirement plan. And then do you do a regular 401k or Roth 401k? I think most people starting out, or, if the salary's on the lower side, I'm talking non-executive, non-senior VP, non-managing director, you're probably going to want to do a Roth 401k. As you start to make more money, maybe reducing your taxes by investing in the 401k, the regular traditional 401k can reduce your taxable income a bit, and that can help you with your taxes down the road. But we're going to get into much more detail on each specific account down the road. I'm trying to keep this as much of an overview as I can without getting too far in the weeds today. So I talked about the tax deferred and I talked about the tax free. The third account, which I think is really a key, is to get to a point where you can have a taxable account or a brokerage account. And a lot of people will name it as a brokerage account. And what that is non-retirement assets. Now, you may use those assets in retirement, but the way I use a brokerage account, and maybe it's different than some other people, it's really our savings account. There's a portion of our brokerage account that will be in more conservative investments should we need that money short or mid-range term. And then there's other investments in there, stocks and ETFs that I bought that are generating maybe dividend income or whatnot, that holding for the long term to just allow those dividends to grow, buy more shares, reinvesting those dividends over time. And again, we'll get into dividends and dividend reinvestment because I'm a huge proponent of dividends and building your wealth that way. That is truly one way you can make your money work harder for you while you sit back and just watch it. So those are the three types of accounts. I always like to look at an endpoint and then kind of work my way back. So I think in a perfect world, most people would want to have a tax deferred account, whether it's a 401k or an IRA. You'd want to have some type of Roth account that's tax-free money, and then you want to have this taxable account. So tax deferred, tax-free, taxable, kind of three different silos can really lay the foundation. I think that's really the investment foundation. You get to that point with those three accounts. If you're organized, you're budgeting, you're on a surplus for a monthly basis, you're investing in a 401k or a Roth 401k, you're putting some money in a brokerage account, that's the way to go. Now, I mentioned something just a few minutes ago, and that's an IRA. And that's a little bit different. It works very similar into how a 401k works in terms of tax deferral. In other words, you invest money now, you may get a deduction for an investment in an IRA and a tax deduction for that, so it'll reduce your income a little bit. Those taxes are deferred over a period of time, and then you're allowed to touch that money in retirement. And most of the time when I'm talking about touch that money in retirement, for either a traditional account or a traditional IRA or traditional 401k, or even a Roth account, you pretty much can't touch that money till 59 and a half. There are some ways to access that money a little earlier. That's more an advanced side that we'll discuss down the road. But 59 and a half is kind of the key number to that. And that brings me to the story of Reign Over Money. And you're like, well, how? What does 59 and a half have to do with Reign Over Money? There's an analogy for when I developed Reign Over Money. I was messing around with the logo. I had the name. If you look at the logo, there's kind of a crown on there. And it got me thinking about the shows. There's a couple shows out there. You think about like Lord of the Rings, or is the one on HBO. that what was so popular with the dragons and everything. But it's slipping my mind right now. You can all comment on that and help me out with that. But anyways, Game of Thrones. That's what I was thinking of. Game of Thrones. Thank you for that. For sending me those good vibes on helping me remember that. But I was kind of thinking of that with your money, like reigning over your money. It has a kingdom, a fiefdom analogy to it, where if you think about your money and what you're trying to do, at least in my mind with reign over money, is you want to build this kingdom. You've got this fortress wall around your kingdom of your money and your family's money that you are the CFO of, or you are the king or queen of, reigning over that money. And what you want to do in this kind of, if you want to call it a game or analogy, is build your kingdom. You want it to grow. And every dollar you grow, or every dollar you have, think of it as a person. So your population, you want it to grow. Maybe it's starting out at a couple hundred people, but you want that population to grow. And sometime down the road, 40 years down the road, you want to have a couple million people in your kingdom. Well, here's what I think of with an analogy with a retirement account is every time, if you're reigning over your money and you have control over your money, is you're sending out a couple dollars, or you're sending out a couple of your citizens, and their goal is to bring more people back to your kingdom. So in this case, with a 401k or a Roth or anything for retirement, if you're 25, 30 years old, you can't touch that money for 30 years. So that $100 or $200 from that paycheck that you just saw go into that account is going to go to work. It is going to leave the walled city and go out for 30 years and bring back some people. I don't know how many people it's going to bring back, but it's going to bring back a lot of people in most cases. Even something I mentioned on the last episode, I bought some I-bonds a few months ago, and I know, because these accounts are guaranteed, I know that those $10,000 or those 10,000 people I sent out to bring more people back, it's a short journey for them. They're going to come back in 6 months or a year, but I know that they're going to come back with, like $10,800 or something like that. So they're going to come back with 800 more people for my community. That's guaranteed. So they've gone out and done their job. And then once they're back, I'll send out those 10,800 people to bring more back. So that's kind of where this reign over money idea comes from. Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, whatever you want to call it. I think it's a cool analogy. I'm going to roll with it some more. So you'll probably get tired of hearing about it, but that's what I got. So that's my story behind just introducing you to the different kind of accounts. In a perfect world, get yourself balanced, get yourself organized, get the debt managed in a way that you can start contributing to that 401k at work. And hopefully the bonus portion to having a retirement account at work is you'll get this thing called the match, a 401k match. Why is that important? Because that is essentially the company giving you money to invest in these retirement accounts. For example, let's say the company has a line in the 401k that says for every 6%, we will match 3% up to the first 6% you contribute. We will match 3% up to the first 6% you contribute. That's a fairly standard thing out there. So what that means is if you invest 6% of your salary, let's just use easy numbers here. Let's say you're making $50,000. 6% of your salary is $3,000. You invest $3,000 in your 401k. The company is going to give you another $1,500 on top of that. Free money. You have to take advantage of that. So the goal for everyone, if you're just starting out or if you're in your job, is at least start out in your 401k, whether it's a Roth or a regular 401k or a retirement plan, whatever it is, to get that match. And then you can go from there. You can worry about maxing out down the road. And what I mean by maxing out is putting in as much as the government allows you to put in. But let's start with that. If you can max that out, and then maybe if you've got some free income still left over, you can start some type of taxable account, brokerage account, then go with that. And it'll be a great start for you and lay the foundation for going forward. Another question that may come up is, okay, I want to open a brokerage account, or I've had an idea about doing that. Where do I start? Another website I follow is NerdWallet. NerdWallet, very popular website. I was just kind of looking out there at their recommendations for top online brokerage firms. And again, this is if you're doing it yourself. more than happy to go to a financial advisor and have them set an account up for you. I'll get into an episode down the road talking about choosing and working with a financial advisor, because that was pretty much my job for 25 years, was consulting and working with financial advisors. So there's a lot of things I've learned about what makes a good financial advisor that I will share down the road. But if you're just starting out looking for something simple, E-Trade's always good. Fidelity, Vanguard, TD Ameritrade. Those are kind of the top four, and nothing wrong with those whatsoever. There's a few others out there, but those are the most popular. They're the largest, and from an expense standpoint, very consumer friendly in terms of cost to set those up and work through and invest those. So that's the way to get started. We will talk much more in detail because there's so much more I can get to on the investment foundation, and then we'll build into that and focus on the different types of accounts. We'll dive deeper into the tax-free accounts, the Roth accounts. We'll dive deeper into the tax-deferred accounts, dive deeper into the taxable accounts, and focusing on maybe some retirement accounts in general, rules, regulations that go on with those. But I've already reached my time. Investing, I've got enough in here for a couple years of episodes, I think. But we will leave it at that. Keep it simple. Keep your investing simple. Automate it if you can. 401ks automatically coming out, so you don't have to worry about doing it. If you can set up a brokerage account or an IRA, automatically have that money go from your checking or savings account into the brokerage account so you don't see it, and it automatically happens, and you'll be happy that you did year over year over year when you look at your statements. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. Episode 6 in the books. Kevin Hissong, Reign Over Money. Follow us on Twitter, the Reign Over Money call sign, Instagram, Reign Over Money call sign, website, reignovermoney.com, available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, visit the website. I've got a comment section if you want to contact, you've got questions, inquiries, whatever. Test it out. I got that, built that, and got that out this week. So a lot of ways you can reach out. Look forward to hearing from y'all. I thank y'all for joining me, and you have a great day and a great rest of the week. Take care.